Welcome to Arash's world, where you will hear prominent voices, psychoanalysts, psychologists, therapists, philosophers, and thought leaders talk about a variety of mental health concerns and problems, including how to deal with anxiety, depression, and chronic conditions, and how to become more resilient, find inner peace, be emotionally engaged in your personal and professional life, and just be your beautiful, authentic self. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arash's World. We have a special guest today. We have Leslie Lee Sanders. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, for sure. Now, I'd like to start off with probably a tough question, but then it's going to get easier as we go along. How would you briefly describe yourself to our audience here? What would you say in any way you see fit?
Well, my name is Leslie Lee Sanders. I'm the author of over 30 books. I write under LL Sanders for thriller and horror, and I also write under Leslie Lee Sanders for this diverse dystopian romance. And Ready to Listen is my first foray into nonfiction. So that's how I
Yeah,
describe myself.
awesome. Thanks so much. So the book, yeah, Ready to Listen, a spiritual self-help memoir. Why were you motivated to write this? I mean, you have various different genres, you blend genres and so on, and now you're moving towards a memoir. So what kind of
Yeah.
created that shift of writing something that's nonfiction?
What really created it was at the end of 2024 when the US made a decision to elect a certain person as our president. I realized then that there's a lot of people that dismiss the Black voice, female Black voices. And since I am an African American woman, I kind of related to that by not seeing the support and the enthusiasm for a Black female candidate. So I kind of was in this position where I felt all of the systems, anything of structure was kind of holding us down, putting us in a box, including the publishing industry, which I have been a part of since 2005. And so even there, I saw structures where, you have to write a certain thing, you have to be a certain person to get ahead. A lot of the statistics in publishing was, it kind of made the Black female voice be at the bottom of everything from reviewers, the editors, the publishing agents, everything that had to do with the female Black voice was low. And so I was kind of encouraged to get out of my shell, find my voice, speak up, speak out, and kind of put others in a position where if they feel like their power has been taken away, or if they felt small or limited, they could turn to spirituality or turn to their inner knowing, their intuition, and make a life that they wanted to live. So that's where I kind of was inspired to create Ready to Listen.
Exactly. And so, yeah, ready to listen and speaking up because it takes courage to
Yes.
speak up. But then once you do it, then it kind of gets a bit easier. I think it's really that first step of getting the book. There's still challenges there, but
Oh, yeah.
the go-to place for many people is that silence where, it's better I don't say anything. I don't want to make waves. I don't want to cause trouble. I don't want to hurt people and so on. And
Exactly.
sometimes you please people by not speaking up. And so that creates a lot of conflict within oneself when that happens.
Yes, I agree. That's exactly how I was. And I feel like a lot of people around me, not just the marginalized groups, but there's a lot of people, especially in America right now, that I see feel like they don't have the power to do anything. I see that they feel like they're supposed to just stay in their box, stay in their lane, stay quiet, or have someone else do all the work for them to make a better life or to create change. And we can't wait around for heroes. We have to step up and do things ourselves. So I want to ensure other people that and you kind of empower other people to let them know that they still have it in them to make positive change in their life, in their community, in their nation, in the world with humanity. And so this was like my first steps into
Mhm.
getting my voice out there, getting my voice heard, and stepping up to the plate. It is hard work because I'm
Yeah.
still working on that.
Yeah.
I still have a fear. I still kind of have a shaky voice sometimes when I know I'm going to publicly speak, but it's the push, the drive, the energy that I make sure is behind me to get that message out there. That's what makes me able to sit here with you now. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I mean, you talk about superheroes, and that's a superpower that each of us has. And you mentioned here breaking out and being unique. And to me, that
yes.
is indeed a superpower. We are all heroes in our own ways. And that is
Yes.
so hard to do, though, in many cases, because then, being yourself is such a challenging thing because you're different from everybody else. But at the same time, nobody compares to you, and that's like
Yeah.
something we should all tap into. And there is like everyone can be themselves and express themselves. That is, again, I like that idea as a superpower,
Yeah.
as you mentioned.
Yeah, but see, there's a lot that a lot of people don't realize they have that in them because
Hmm.
we are a society that, well, in America mostly, we are a society that kind of forms with what others want us to be and what others want us to think. We put
Hmm.
on masks to
Hmm.
protect who we truly are, and
Hmm.
in some ways, we're not even sure who we truly are because we're too busy people pleasing. We're too busy showing up as the mom or the teacher or the best friend instead of finding out who we really are and then removing that mask and showing up in the world as who we are. It's a lot of fear there because we're conditioned, and that's where the systems come in. That's where the structures and societies and that's where it all comes in to kind of keep us boxed, keep us small, keep us from making positive change. And we need to rise up to the occasion for ourselves, for our lives, for the people we love, and especially, I believe, for the world, for humanity, for our country. We need to rise up in a way that we can make positive change. And that could take just one step in our life to figure out who we are, why we feel we're the person we are, why we want to present ourselves that way. That's the first step. It takes us knowing who we are. So then we could show up being unique and embracing our uniqueness.
Hmm. And the remedy to like the box is thinking outside of it, and that's something I
Right.
love, and that's why I have on my podcast people who think outside of the box, and I think that is so important. And what about, so you talk about the structure and so on, patterns. I want to bring in the spirituality into that, like being aware of these patterns in a way, and also like signs and synchronicities. These are things that I'm fascinated with. So
Yes.
what did you see there? How did that guide you in a way?
Throughout my life, especially as a child, I was always told, like a lot of children, sit down, don't speak until you're spoken to, raise your hand in class before you say anything, don't talk back to, adults, respect authority, that sort of thing. And that kind of made me feel like I was supposed to stay silent. I'm supposed to be seen and not heard. I'm supposed to just do and not, not use my voice, not
Mhm.
stand up for anything, not speak
Mhm.
out for anything or against anything. So that was what was conditioned in me. And I know there's a lot of people probably around the world where they could relate to that, being kind of conditioned to stay in your lane, to stay where you belong, to don't do too much or don't go outside of what is meant for you. And yeah, I think as soon as we kind of understand that the structures and the systems around us is kind of keeping us in that space, we could break out of it. But we first have to realize and wake up to the fact that there are kind of like a veil over the truth of what is going on with politics, with government, with policing, with judges, and that sort of thing. Any area where there's a system going on, it's usually built to keep us as regular citizens or people, silence, quiet, and not pushing back against it. And that is from birth. I mean, even in the religious context, I was told I was a Christian Baptist as I grew up. I didn't really know what that was. I just followed what my mom and my family said, go to church, sit there and read the Bible or study these lessons. And I started questioning that. I started questioning a lot of what I was taught and told about religion. Certain things like if Jesus was born in Bethlehem, then why is he depicted as a blue-haired or blue-eyed white man? With blonde hair, that sort of thing. The names of his disciples, and just certain things that I would look at and say, why is this the way it is? It just doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And then I would, you know, go deep into the stories of the Bible, which was what I connected with the religion. That's the only thing I really took from my religion as a child was the stories. And as I grew up, I understood that those stories were parables, were allegories, were messages entwined in something entertaining where you could take a lesson out of that. And so that's where I see systems as well. Everything that is put together for us to go to church to pray, or don't do this or you go to hell, or this is a sin, or those are all just control mechanisms. That's what I come to learn. And that's why I turned from religion to spirituality, because spirituality, I do feel, my interpretation of it is believing in a consciousness that is greater than us, something that, probably brought us into this world, this 3D world on Earth, but is not just one man-made idea. It's not just a guy sitting in the clouds judging us. It's something more than that. And that's where you could tap into signs, symbols, and synchronicities around you to communicate with that energy, that consciousness, that spirit,
And I think what's really lacking in like religion, organized religion, is the critical thinking part, because those questions you were asking are valid. And if I was part of that religion, if I was a priest, I would say, let's delve into that. Let's discuss this. Whereas like a lot of people do cut you off then. It's like, oh no, it's like the parents, like, I told you so, I tell you so because I'm the boss, I'm your parent. And it's kind of that kind of relationship that happens where it's not fostering growth or stimulation or new ideas and so on. Right. And I think that is when you get to your inner truth, and then also like hear that inner voice that tells you things. And that is often discouraged in many parts of organized religion, I think.
Yes. And there's also a kind of stigma when it comes to like new age thinking or anything to do with spirituality, because I'm also a tarot reader. I also been practicing tarot since 2017. And my connection with tarot is through the symbolisms and also connecting with my intuition to interpret the meaning of the cards. And so a lot of religion look at that as satanic or as, something evil, when it's not. It comes from the same place as God, or the same place as spirit or the universe. That's what's giving me the messages. And the messages are always encouraging and inspiring and empowering. And it's never to hurt or harm anyone, And so, I kind of feel like with religion in general, there's a lot of judgment that was supposed to be used for the God to judge, but I think a lot of the people do the judging. And that's where I kind of separate myself and spirituality from that. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, tarot cards was since age 16 when my French
Mm,
teacher read to me and he said I was fascinated by it. And then he told me there's a book that you can get and you can learn it. And I have the book and I've been practicing it since then. But I tried out I went to your website, Simply Tarot, and I tried out one of them and it was spot on. Like, oh my God, like
nice.
this was like so precise that I'm like just amazed. I mean, I believe in it already, right? So
Mm,
I don't like this is like, preaching to the choir. But then when these things happen, or like even astrology, I'm embracing it a bit more. And there's certain things that are so precise that just blows my
right,
mind. Like how is that possible? Like it's just like to
right.
the point, like exactly
Yeah,
what I'm going through.
I think with astrology, there is kind of a link between the blueprint that we wrote as a spirit before we became human and entered the physical world. I think astrology is kind of like that blueprint because if you look at it, the placements of the planets and the transits and everything that aligns when you're born, it kind of sets a path, for your life. And yeah, there's a thing that I believe with destiny and with free will that I believe is simultaneous when you look at tarot, astrology, or spirituality. I think there's a lot there that intertwines, but the point is when what I use is an example of like the tree of life.
Yeah.
I look at the tree as like us on a path. And the tree is made up of different parts, the trunk, the branches, and our purpose is to get to the top where the fruit is, the fruits of our labors, the juicy fruits that we all wanted to grow. But we start at the trunk, at the bottom, and the branches is our decision how we're going to get there. So we could go any branch, we could hop to another branch, we could come back, on a branch and go to another, or find the easiest or the hardest path to get to the fruit. The free will is the choices we make to get there. But destiny, what is written in the stars for us, is the fruit. We're always going to get to that fruit. How are you going to get to it though? That's on us.
Right.
And that's what I
But
wanted
you
to.
believe that that will happen. I mean, and that gives me hope because like my free will, I make mistakes, right? And I go off
Right.
and that's necessary because then the mistakes are
That's
actually the things that fuels my path and I get back on track and learning comes from the mistakes. Otherwise,
yes,
there would be no
exactly.
learning. But it's really
Very
interesting
much
because
so.
in the reading that I was going through, there was the mention of divine plan. And that was exactly what my horoscope has been saying. Like, watch out for the divine plan and it's gonna come. And it's like, oh, and so that is gives us a sense of hope when things are not going
Hmm.
well. It's like there's a reason for it. This is not random,
Right.
right? And just kind of hang in there in a way because things are gonna
Yeah.
get better. And I think a lot of people don't have that. And if you take that away, you see what's going on in the world, then it's like that's why people feel lost. And I
Yeah.
think this is so important to instill that. And that was the job of religion, but they're not doing
Yeah.
it well. So that's
Yeah.
why I think spirituality can fill the gap.
And I agree with you. I feel like belief is such a big, important part of anything you do in your life. I know faith is important in religion as well, but I know with spirituality and with anything you want to do, you have to have the belief because if you first don't believe it, then why are you even doing anything about it in the first place?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
have to have that belief. And once you see and know that things are possible for you, you go down that path to make it so. And nothing will stop you. You're determined, and that's what you need to make anything happen. But what stops us is fear and our comfort zone. We're kind of used to being in that box, we're kind of used to being put in our place that anything outside of it looks like it's unachievable. And that's where we just become stagnant. But just like my mission to wake up everybody to the systems and structures of the world and how it's keeping us down, I want to make sure people know that they have that ability to change lives, their lives, others' lives. It all comes with knowing you could do it and then setting that into action, taking that first move, making that first step, especially when it comes to like anything you want in life, you're going to have to take action on it. Nothing you want is just going to fall into your lap. And we have to remember that.
Yes.
But as long as you have that belief that you'll get through, that you'll accomplish, that you can achieve, as long as you have that belief, that is the very first step. So, yeah, I believe in that as well.
In many ways, so there's the one part, the devil, and you just like go, okay, like this is my job, this is what I do, this is my relationship, and it's not great, but you kind of go along because that's what I know. But then also the idea of feeling stuck, and in a way, yes, you are kind of stuck, but then you can get out of that, you can get unstuck, and that's where people sometimes don't see it because they're so feel entrapped in this. They don't feel empowered to step out there, to take another path or start a new relationship, for instance, or a new job.
Right.
And that's their own insecurities in many ways that we have to also deal with in many ways.
And if you have those insecurities or those fears, one of the things you could do is make sure you understand that your job as a human is to make mistakes. And I know it may sound like counterintuitive, but we have the right to make mistakes. We are human. We're supposed to make mistakes because that's how we learn and that's how we grow. And the whole point of our existence is to learn and to grow and to become enlightened. And so, like I was mentioning earlier, as we're spirit, like on the other side, before we become human and enter Earth, the 3D realm, I call Earth School because that is definitely what we're here to do. We're here to learn. We're here to evolve and grow and help better those lives around us, those lives connected to us, and so on and so forth. So it is the hardest school because we have polarization. We have, light and dark, good and bad, up and down. We have a lot of duality, a lot of opposites, and a lot of clashing. But the point is to make sure we can harmonize and unify with those polarizing aspects. So when we decide to come to Earth to learn, we are with our spirit guides who are like our mentors. They're like the people that guide us. They saw the blueprint that we made and what we wanted to learn. They're there with us as we put together that blueprint or that course, let's say. And so we're telling them, like, I feel like I need to learn empathy. I feel like I need to learn compassion. I feel like I need to learn unity or whatever it is. You could even learn, hate and hatred and solitude and whatever it is. And then we put it in our blueprint. And this is where I think astrology comes into because it kind of like slams into the universe and it all aligns with the paths that we take to get the lessons that we need to learn. We come into Earth. We're human now. We forget everything that was on our curriculum. But the point is, as we grow and learn and become adults, we're supposed to relearn the things that we lost coming into spirit. We're supposed to become aware again that spirit exists, that it's there to help us and guide us, and know that the guides that we each have guides. They're going to lead us down those paths that we need to go. The tree of life example I gave, they're going to show us what path may be best for us. And sometimes those paths may be best because it's supposed to teach us something. It may be a harder path. It may have obstacles. It may have bumps in the road. But anytime you go through that, you become stronger and better once you get over that hump,
And that's when you get
till the end of your life,
Yeah, that's where you get synchronicities and coincidences.
Exactly.
I don't believe in coincidences, but when it happens, it really like wakes me up. It's like, okay, so there's a message there. There's like a path there. There's like a wake-up call in many cases. And I think that the clash is sometimes because we want to go a certain way, that we're pushing towards something that's actually not in our best interest, but we don't know that. And then we get the pushback, and then we get angry and frustrated because I didn't get that. But again, that was not part of the divine plan, for instance.
Right. I mean, it could have been, to get that pushback, but at the same time, you have to keep that hope and that belief, because if you get the pushback and then you stop and then you give up, and
Oh
you
yeah,
let burnout kind of overtake you,
that's
then
right.
now you're just an angry human, bitter, burdened, and you don't accomplish anything. Like the whole point of life is to live it and not be afraid of what happens and what comes. Knowing that you'll get over that, knowing that every lesson you see others go through as well, you could learn from it too. Like we're supposed to learn, we're supposed to
Hmm.
fail, we're supposed to
Yeah.
fall, we're supposed to,
Hmm.
but at the same time, we get back up, dust ourselves off, and keep going, you know? And by the end of our lives, we're supposed to be wise enough to understand everything we went through, the journey that we took was meant to make us grow and learn. And when we go back into spirit form, we'll have our life review, and then we'll realize our impact on Earth and the people, the humans, animals, the plants, and everything that resides on Earth. We'll see our impact, and we'll feel everything that we've put out into the world. That's part of the karma of it. That's
Hmm.
part of
Hmm.
what people claim to be like the judgment. That's not judgment. That's just you understanding your place. You know, you could judge yourself in your life review once you've seen the life you lived and the people you impacted. And if you've done negative, bad, terrible, evil things, you will feel that too. And you will understand how you contributed to that. But that's the point. And then at the end, we grow, we become more enlightened, we become more of a light being, and then we could actually create worlds and lives and things that, you know, our creator created, you know? That's the point.
But
And
but
once you
but when
realize that,
yeah, but when
you
you're in the
know,
game, you don't see that. When you're part of
oh
this, it's
yeah.
it's so hard, right? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's great to like I also get to that point where like go past it's like, oh, this is what it was all about. But while you're
Yes.
in it, you are kind of stuck and you don't know if you made the right choice and did I do well and so on. So it's confusing being human.
Yeah, that's the challenge. And
Yeah.
that's why in this book, Ready to Listen, I
Hmm.
try to get people into that mindset where they may not be where they want to be right now, but it's very possible to get there. The first thing you have to do is self-reflect. You do have to take time to figure out who you are. You can't do anything in life if you're not doing it for the right reasons, if you're not even sure you want to do it, if it's society or your mom or somebody pushing you down that path instead of what you want truly from your heart, you know, you won't be able to learn that or feel fulfilled once you get it unless you do some self reflection and understand you first. And then you'll go through that however long it takes. It could take years, it could take
It
months,
does take years, yes.
however long it takes for you.
Yeah.
Once you realize who you are, then you could show up to the world without the mask and present yourself as who you are and get the things that you want to get done. You know, that's the point.
And one horoscope that I loved was about like if you take away like all your mistakes and all the suffering that you've had, you wouldn't be who you are right now. And I thought
Exactly.
that was so
Yes.
amazing. And it's like we are being shaped by that. And instead of like just kind of being angry about it or frustrated, it's like, okay, now this has shaped me in different ways, and I am who I am because of it. And going through
Exactly.
those experiences. And I
That's
also want to, yeah.
exactly the point. Go
Also
ahead.
want to finish off also on intuition because I think that is something that is really important. Like I consider myself relatively stubborn, so there are like things I push through, sometimes in a negative way because I'm looking for something that's again not good, but sometimes it's this intuitive drive, I think, that I know like something's going to happen. And even though it takes like many tries and I keep falling, I know there is reward coming from this. And so, how can we tap into that intuition? I have some ideas, but what would you recommend here?
Yeah. My first recommendation is definitely self reflection.
Mhm.
Take time for yourself.
Mhm.
Nothing fancy, nothing expensive. You could literally do what I do and take a bubble bath. Like my bubble baths are a time of like meditation, a time to like really connect with my intuition, with the messages that, you know, spirit is giving me, the universe is giving me to connect with those synchronicities, to understand the meaning behind everything. Take that time. It's important, even if you journal, even if you go on walks in nature, you know,
I do
alone,
that.
quiet,
Yeah.
have some nice meditation music on in your ear pods or whatever, AirPods. And then just be with yourself so you could tune in to what the universe is trying to tell you. And then you will start to see things around you that will confirm where you're supposed to be or where you're at or that you're on the right path. Things like, for instance, like a butterfly. I always mention this as an example because butterflies could represent change or transformation for many. If you're in a position where you're wondering, should I stay in this relationship or should I keep this job? And you see butterflies, even if it's on TV, and then next you see it on a billboard, and then next there's one outside your window. That is universe telling you maybe you should consider change. You know, it's simple as that for me because I've lived it my whole life. But for those that don't believe or struggle to kind of accept that there's helpers around us, invisible helpers, but they're there nonetheless. These are the signs that they're here for you. You know, they
Yes,
want
they
what's
are.
best for you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, once you tune into that, that's part of making change in your life.
For me, it's somehow very explicit. I find cards in the street and like just playing cards, which I know are related
Yeah.
to tarot cards, but now recently more tarot cards as well. I find tarot cards in the
Ooh.
street. So it's like, I mean, this is again being guided in the clearest way. And so, and I
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what each of them mean. And when it comes, it's like, yes. And sometimes things that I don't want to look at, it's like, oh, yeah, you're telling me, look
Yes.
for that, do the
Yes.
self-reflection, work on this, right? And
Yes.
it is there. Like sometimes it's explicit like that, sometimes again with different symbols, but awareness is really important. The openness of embracing that, I think that's hugely important too.
And the symbols and signs you get are usually directed specifically towards you.
Yes,
Even
they are.
though a butterfly means transformation, maybe for some, a butterfly was their past mother's favorite animal or insect or, you know,
Yeah.
and that could be a message from her. It all is subjective and it's all personal. So it's not one size fits all, you know,
No,
but
for sure.
when you know, you will know.
Yeah,
Like
you
when it
know when you
happens,
know.
you
Yeah.
feel it, you know?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Absolutely.
exactly.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leslie Sanders. So, your book again, the book we're talking about is your memoir, Ready to Listen, a spiritual self-help memoir. And you have lots of other books too, but I find this fascinating of like really talking about your path of speaking up, of going past silence and using spirituality to make it all fit together. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and wisdom here on Arash's
Thank
World.
you. Yes, thank you for having me. I had such a good time.